Let me quickly open up this conversation. Ambassador Basmati Mukherjee joining us on the broadcast. Mohammad Ali Shah joining us on the broadcast as well. Anu Peshavaria joining us, and Joyita Basu with us. Mohammad Ali Shah, this is what this council is doing. Why are we endorsing it by having members, respected members from the Indian establishment, one a bishop, one a former vice president and chairman of the Rajya Sabha, attending this conference?
Rishabh, firstly, I would say when we have a conference like Protecting India's Pluralist Constitution, I certainly am of the view that a Parsi, a Hindu, a Jain, a Buddhist, a Sikh should also be part of it, because we are a Science Bowl nation. We are not a melting pot unlike the West. Secondly, also, having said that, I would also say that India is the best country for minorities. I have myself personally experienced, I haven't faced any discrimination because I had education in my stand. My family hasn't faced personal discrimination because they had education by their side. They were well educated. Yeah, as you rightly said, Mr. Hamid Ansari also, he comes from a privileged background because he's an educationalist as well. He's also been the Vice Chancellor of the Aligarh Muslim University, which is highly revered. Now, having said that, why are they going for this? Well, I would say you cannot really judge a book by its cover. And yes, Mr. Hamid Ansari it's not his prerogative who to invite, who not to invite. He hasn't decided whether only an archbishop will be there and he as a former vice president will be there. It is up to the organization. Now, why are they attending? Yes, don't we also have flag meetings at the border, and we try to make peace at the end of the day with anyone, no matter how much animosity or enemy the country would be, the neighboring country, we would always try to be diplomacy. And in fact, Mr. Hamid Ansari has also been a diplomat.
Okay. Let me put the question differently. Mohammed, if tomorrow morning, okay, I put out a news article in which I show an Indian Muslim with a Molotov cocktail, a sword and an AK-47 and call it toolkit, okay, that would be an unfortunate thing to do, all right, and I would be told that credible people should not be sitting with you. They should be boycotting what you're doing because you're doing incredible work. So if somebody is doing this, do we then not endorse them in the purport of having a conversation?
Okay, Rishabh, very good question. I'll give you a small example, a very good analogy, and I'm sure, in fact, everyone who's listening to us would be convinced. Now, Amitabh Bachchan, before he became a superstar, he had numerous flops. He did a lot of films which people did not like. So that does not mean that we would not give him a chance, and thereafter, the film that he's going to come in later on would not be good. We cannot judge a book by its cover. We cannot make presumptions. As you rightly brought out, that the Prime Minister had said that we should not make presumptions and assumptions that, oh, this is what's going to happen. Okay, the year just started, this is January.
No, right? But if you're discussing pluralism in India and not inviting anybody from the Hindu community, you might have a problem with a few people in the Hindu community, fair enough. You might have a problem with all of government, fair enough. But are we trying to say 860 million Hindus in this country are all bunch of jokers, and from the 860 million, not one could be found to talk about pluralism? I mean, Vivekananda attended the Congress of Religions, for gosh sake, in Chicago. Nobody could be found? That's a bit dodgy.
That's a very valid point that you have. Very, very valid point. And as I said, that Mr. Hamid Ansari, it's not his prerogative who is going to be speaking at this conference. Now, the year just started, it's January. How can we say that the end of 2022, that even if we are optimists, that everything will be fine, we cannot predict the future. Similarly, the conference hasn't even happened.
No, but I can predict certain things. If any organization in this country had put out an image indicating that Muslims in India partake in Molotov cocktails, swords and AK-47s, that organization would have faced an immense amount, and rightfully have faced an immense amount of backlash within this country and globally, that they would have had to cease to operate. So if I had done something like this, my resignation would have had to follow the next day, okay, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
So these guys are now the principal advisors to a congressional hearing, and in which they're discussing pluralism, in which there is no Hindu voice. Major Shah, I don't think the India's ruling Hindu nationalist forces want to eliminate Christianity. and the Indian Christian church is being driven underground. I don't agree with these views, but I don't have an opportunity to represent myself before the US Congress. What do we now do? Should we be concerned, or should we say, oh, let's carry on and pretend nothing's happening?
Rishabh, I agree with you. There is no community that way which is like, per se, which is under threat, and I would like say, as you say, Christianity is getting wiped out. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so, and I agree with you on that, on those views. Now, having said that, I'll give you a small example so that everyone who's listening to us understands, and I can guarantee you on that, I vouch for it with conviction that they all would be convinced with what I am saying right now. See, most of us are movie buffs. We see a movie, right? If we see a poster of a movie, and we cannot make a presumption that the entire movie is going to be based on that poster. We see a particular actor on that poster. Oh, this actor had given so many 10 flops in the past, so and so this thing. This film is going to be a flop. This actor is going to be a flop. No, we cannot make those presumptions. As you rightly said,
but Major Shah, I'm not making a presumption. This is not a poster. This is the entire Twitter feed. I mean, this was publicly available. And this is not just retweeting other people. This is Mir Sohail. It's signed by Mir Sohail from the Indian American Muslim Council. And he's put the BJP logo with a Molotov cocktail and AK-47 and a sword. And I ask you the simple question, if I had done this, if somebody had done this with the Congress logo, it would have been equally reprehensible. And if somebody had done this with a Muslim organization, we do know what cartoons and caricatures result in after fact, Major Shah. So this is, I would say, either Mir Sohail has resigned before this conference takes place, before Hamid Ji goes for it. I had no information to suggest that Mir Sohail has quit his post as cartoonist for the Indian American Muslim Council. So this is very much real. We can't just, hope for the best, can we?
See, a cartoon like this is definitely not acceptable. That I agree with you 100% on that, Rishabh. Now, when Mr. Hamid Ansari is going to be attending that event, for all you know, as an Indian representative, as a person who has represented India to various countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, he's been the Indian ambassador to UN, to Australia, to where not. And he's held the second highest appointment in the country. So it could work, as you rightly said, it could work the opposite as well. It is like a man going with a weapon to hunt a man-eater, and you arrest that man saying that you're going to kill.
So thanks to my guest.